right, welcome to another edition of On the Road with RSG at the Maui Invitational. We're about to start day two of another great day of basketball. But yesterday was, had all kinds of interesting stories. We're going to spend a little time just all reflecting. We all had these different vantage points in terms of what we were seeing yesterday. We're going to start off with talking about, especially with Syracuse about to play right now. Tennessee and Syracuse played yesterday. Final score was 73-56. Score seems to say a little bit something, but it kind of pulled away at the end. But it was a really interesting game in terms of that. With the coach Autry with his first time kind of being in this setting and following Boeheim, had his own storyline. And then, Tennessee has been building a strong program. Coach, let's just start with you right now. What were some of the observations you made with both teams, as they both prepare for day two that you saw in that game yesterday?
Well, a slow start, yeah, sure. Everybody was slow, especially on the offensive end. You can tell what they spend their time in the preseason working on D, because the D was intense, and it was kind of a slow start. But even at that, you could see some of the things they want to do. Obviously, Tennessee wants to play off tempo. They really push the ball hard. They really push the ball toward the basket real hard and try to attack the basket hard. Syracuse tries to come down, set up a little bit more, try to play a little bit inside out kind of thing. But again, early on, like I say, the score is deceptive because it was a game where they all kind of struggled at times. Mm-hmm. But eventually they found their stride and the players start to get into it. I know that Darnell's going to talk a little bit more about it, about Kinnick, who he had to start off slow, but then he really started coming out. You can see him trying to exert himself and put himself in the game, and that kind of picked Tennessee up in the second half.
Yeah, I was Syracuse, man. Syracuse, they surprised me because going into, I didn't know too much about them, but they really put on a good showing, fight in there in the first half, and really throughout the game. I like the way they almost had two different types of styles. Like when they started off, they had this tough interior defense with the 7'4" center in there.
Cloud.
Yeah, Cloud. And then also they had the change of pace with Benny Williams coming off the bench. He provided a lot of scoring for them, stretching the floor from the three-point line, also slashing a little bit. But going back to Tennessee, Dalton Kinnick, he did a great job of kind of keeping the ship afloat offensively. And the biggest difference to me was the battle of the glass.
Yeah.
Because you saw as they were protecting the rim, Tennessee was still crashing in with 3 or 4 bodies, getting those offensive rebounds, getting those second chance points. And even when they were struggling to shoot the ball, that allowed them to keep pace as far as scoring.
Yeah, I think it's I do, but we were saying that even between him and McLeod, McLeod was contesting shots, right? But he wasn't able to then get back in the rebound. He wasn't, even though they weren't running plays for him, he wasn't doing anything on the offensive end, offensive rebound. So his stat line was showing those contestants, but he wasn't, when he posted, so he wasn't giving you anything else to eat. But then on the other side, you got a big who was giving you that. He was giving you the rebounding. He was giving you the little extra. And that's why I can see Syracuse growing over time as they find a way to use this 7'4" kid to give him more than just that. Joy, I know you've been, and Joy is like, y'all need to understand, Joy got unlimited access here. She gets to every other place that you don't even understand, and she gets to places we're never going to get to. But Joy, I know you were at the press conference, you were out on the floor. What were your observations?
Well, Judah Mintz, he actually ended up with like about 15, 16 points, but I think it would have been a huge difference for Syracuse because he was in foul trouble early. He was in, so it was hard for them to get going, and part of Tennessee's goal was to not let their guards go, not get them going, not letting them go on the run. So they kind of did what they wanted to do. Red Autry felt that they did okay though, but they had a hard time getting their offense going. He felt that they did the best on their defense, and Tennessee out-rebounded them by a lot. So he knew that that kind of killed them too. But he felt they battled. He felt they were locked in, and it was a pretty good showing for them, especially playing up against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, like again, the score is really deceptive because probably up until the 8-minute mark or so in the second half, it could have gone either way, and that was, like you said, Judah was not really shooting the ball well either. But he had that spark off the bench with Benny that lifted him up, and then it just got away from him. like you said, it was 13 to 6 disadvantage on the offensive boards, which still showed itself.
So we got the Volunteers moving on to play. Who do you got this?
The Volunteers are playing
Purdue.
Purdue. They got
Zach
Purdue.
Edey.
And so it kind of sets up. We had a chance to see Zach play against Gonzaga. In our pre kind of college show that we did, Darnell, so we talked about the transfer Ryan Nimhard in terms of what he might bring, and he had a tough day shooting over there. And Zach Edey, I think Zach had about 25, but it was Smith, the point guard. And I know y'all are impressed with him. Darnell, talk a little bit about Smith. Or just about Purdue, because we were trying to figure out what we're going to see in this one.
Yeah, Braden Smith is a junkyard dog out there, man. He's one of those type of cats that you can see him being an option quarterback in high school. He definitely played like some wing chief system as well as playing basketball as well, and he showed that kind of toughness and tenacity in the way he hustled. He gets hands on loose balls. He's a really impactful player on both ends of the court, and also his court vision. The ability to penetrate and kick and find the open man was very important for Purdue. And also the big fella, he struggled a little bit with the double teams, but they found Braden Smith was able to help with that too, like taking the burden off of him. But it'll be interesting to see what's going on with Tennessee, especially with the physical brand of basketball they play.
And we talked a little about, Purdue coach before I go to Joy. We talked a little bit about Purdue. One thing I look at, they had a lot of straight line drivers, and they were able to get to their move and get to the hoop in ways that you don't know if that can carry down the line with other teams, but we were effective with that with those drivers. And coach, talked about the need for those. We talked about the need for those other folks to not just watch Edey, but they had to be active participants in offense, and they showed that they were able to do that. So, what was your impression in terms of what you saw with those others, as Shaq would say, with Purdue and how they worked with Edey? So,
it's interesting. They look for him all the time.
Yeah.
They're going to try to play through him, which of course they would.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're okay with what he does.
Yeah.
All right, but they all know where they're supposed to go. They don't just stand and watch. They don't just start and look. They move. It was interesting in the press conference that Coach Painter made the comment that it's a chess match.
Yeah.
Okay, and how people are going to play you, and they have to respond to how people are going to play them. If they're going to double up, they've got to relocate. If they're not going to double up, they got to get to spots. And so they did that pretty well. And that's what set up a lot of those straight line drives, because Edey would kick, and now people are rushing out. Now they can turn the corner and get to the rim. So they really take to heart what he's saying. They make themselves available to be effective, no matter how they play. And then if they stay away from him, it's money. It's a value. Yeah.
And Joy, I know we've seen the Zags here before. Now you're getting the first time to see Purdue up front. What were some of the things that you saw?
Can't dispute Edey is strong.
Yeah.
He had that guy up against him. I forget what his name, what number it was, but he manhandled him.
Yeah.
Manhandled him.
Yeah.
He just pushed him out of the way, scored at will when he got the ball. So it's a good matchup, but Edey won it mostly every single time.
Yeah, and I think, Few was right. They had a lot of shots that they normally would make.
Yeah.
And we talked about, we was talking about before, part of Gonzaga's defense is that their efficient offense puts pressure on you in a way that forces you to speed up your game. You want to keep up with them because you know they're going to score on the other end. And they just weren't scoring. So I think that affected them on all aspects of their game and stuff like that. And then we had, the hometown team, Chaminade and Kansas. We had a chance to see the #1 team. Chaminade hung with them for a little bit. They got in there, hung with them. Sometimes when you're a team like that, you'll have a player that'll force some shots and sometimes allow for runs to happen. But, at first we were talking about the energy of Kansas. Coach said he had 4 top players, and then he had to figure out what 5 and 8 through 8 was going to do it. And I'm like, okay, Bill Self was honest. He got 4 players, and then 5 to 8, we got to figure out a little bit of that. I'll start with you, Joy. When you looked at the kind of the Kansas-Chaminade matchup, what were some of the observations that you had?
Well, we all thought Kansas was going to bury him.
Yeah.
But Chaminade hung with them for a while.
Yeah.
They didn't make, live by the 3, die by the 3.
Yeah.
So they died by the 3. So, but that was their plan, because they knew they couldn't get inside with Hunter Dickerson, so they're trying to shoot from the outside, but they missed a lot. Now the game was close without them making a lot of threes, but I think if those threes drop, they drop, you're hot. But a lot of them didn't drop, but they hung with them all the way up to the second, up into the second half. I think honestly, I forgot to ask Coach Self and the players, but I think they took them a little too lightly.
Yeah.
I think they took them a little too lightly.
I mean, we talked about, Darnell, talked a little bit about, you had a chance to watch Dickinson, Ann Arbor, and Michigan, and everything else. And sometimes, early on, it was like his energy was just different. Then he kind of turned it on. It was just like, he was just kind of cutting down the floor.
If you know Hunter, he's an arrogant cat.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
Probably this game kind of reminded me of Mayweather versus McGregor. Like Floyd, he in there, he gonna make it look good. He's chill. They came out a little cool, but then second half, like Hunter Dickinson, like at the end of the day, you can't guard this down here. And when they put the foot on the gas, it was a wrap.
Yeah. And I've been watching Kansas a long time. I've been watching Bill Self a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was sitting there watching the game and seeing how the game was unfolding. And Chaminade, like you said, was out there playing hard. But Kansas was, I don't want to take anything away from them, but Kansas was going through the motions at the beginning of the game. Yeah. And like I said, I've been watching Self a long time. And when he stood up, I don't know if you remember this, when he stood up and stood on the sideline like this, they went to work. When Bill stands up, they know, okay, coach ain't playing anymore. And he stood up, crossed his arms and watched, and then when he started to put his pedal down, he went back and sat down. Yeah. He did the same thing in the second half, because they came out kind of dreamy again in the second half, like, okay, we got these guys. And again, I looked over the sideline, Bill stood up, walked out there, put his hands in his pocket, leaned forward.
Y'all gonna do something?
Yeah. You gonna play? I've been watching a long time, and I know when Bill gets up, they play.
And both coaches mentioned that he kept in the starters longer than he wanted to. And even Boviard, Chaminade's coach, said if you took notice, they still had their starters in for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
So it was funny because it was much closer than it should have been. And actually Hunter said it too, but coach said right before he got out of the locker room, no excuses tomorrow, because you're up against either UCLA or Marquette.
Yeah.
I mean, we found out it's Marquette, but either one would have been a dogfight.
And you just set it up. We had all the appetizers, and then at night we got that late time meal with Marquette and UCLA. And if you've been watching RSG, Mick is one of our favorite coaches. We know he's gonna give us some energy. But then you got Shaka coming in here with his team. Darnell, you saw the battle. You saw the battles happening. What was that? That was like a Elite Eight. That could have been a Final Four matchup. Like what was that? What did you get feel for that?
That was a game that was played with playoff intensity.
Oh my God! I was sitting in the stands. They were saying the same thing around me.
That was an excellent matchup on both sides, man. You saw Marquette with their physical, tenacious defense, especially with the guys coming off the bench. With the I call them the Jones brothers. You had number 2, number 22. Man, they put it on. And then also you got Tyler Coleman able to facilitate, getting to his spots and making sure everybody gets. Everybody was getting a right amount of looks, right? And on the other end, man, that was a great game.
Yeah, Bona with the, I believe that's it. Yeah, he had a couple of dunks. I was yelling. Your coach was looking at me before the dunk was happening. It was like when you were about to see a car crash, and you knew it was going to happen. I was like, look how below. And then Marquette came back with that dunk. The one dunk, that dunk that turned it around from there down 10. It came coming around the right baseline, and I just knew he was like, he had made a decision. Either I'm going to dunk on you, you're going to block this one. And when he dunked, the Marquette bench went crazy. Those are kind of plays that changed the game. But these teams were playing, like you said, with playoff intensity. You've had, mix your
My God. So what was interesting was in the coach's introduction, he said yesterday would have been the first day that the whole entire team played together. But guess what? He still wasn't happy. He wasn't as crazy, as mad as he usually is, but he still wasn't happy. He was also talking about how people constantly say, he should play a a dem and a day together, and the two post guys. But he said yesterday you can't do that. Guards are too fast. Yeah, you just can't do that. And he was also, not happy with the call of the elbow, trying to make space. He wasn't happy with that. But it could have gone either way. Could have gone either way. Mick also said that I guess they scrimmaged, with Marquette 1 year ago, and he said, I don't want to see your team or you in 2 years. Because as young as your team is, they're going to be scary. He said, look at them now. It's not even 2 years. It's only one, and look where they're at.
Yeah. Coach, I mean, you as a coach, I know you're loving that game. All the chess moves, everything else.
Matchup moves, the changing of personnel. When you're resting personnel, I liked how they were, how they switched around on defense, made some changes in defense and how they were doing. But that was the game, unfortunately. Like you were saying, you just sit back and start watching. You forget that you're there trying to analyze or anything. You're just trying to watch the game. And I think what Nick was trying to say was that those two cats were banging all night long. They were going at like a heavyweight fight. They were banging all night long, and really no animosity, just playing. Just playing. That was so intense. That was energizing both of them. And to Mick's point, okay, he made a hard move. Why are you calling that? Okay, it's a good ball game.
It's like RSG is big in boxing. It's like two great fighters in like the 8th round looking at each other like, they nod at each other like, we doing this. You're like, it's good to be in here with you, right? It's like I have so much respect. We banging, but I'm gonna give you this nod right now because I appreciate the way you competing and I'm competing. Like we brought it all here, and to do that with a team like this right now, like people underestimate energy, right? The importance of energy and effort. Like you have all X and O's, but if people don't deliver that in an environment like this, you can walk away 0-3 losses in this week. So we're getting ready for day 2. See, this is where it gets interesting. See, we've watched this over the years. Everybody's at the press conference. Everybody's all, they're all good and great. They get to day 1. They get their loss. They're still optimistic. After the day, the team that loses again, the energy gonna change, gonna pressure. So even Mick came in, and he usually do an opening. He even said after that, he's like, we have a 12-hour game tomorrow. See, it's already started because he knows he got to win today. Like you can already see it. Like didn't he say he was gonna be patient? He said he was gonna be patient.
Hey, I feel bad for Chaminade, man.
Yeah.
They got to go against.
They got to go against
Angry
you said that because both of y'all and Chaminade's coach said that. He said, you guys got to be ready tomorrow. Although you had a good showing against Kansas, you're going to play tomorrow against an angry team. No matter who it is, you're going to play an angry team.
Angry team. And you usually got 5 slammer jam, but they got 1 slammer jam, but it feels like he's dunking like 5 people. So you got to be ready for this cat because he's bringing his.
He's bringing it.
The last one was ridiculous.
Yes.
It should have been a charge.
Yeah.
But man,
so stay tuned. Thank y'all for hanging with us at the Underground. This is on the road with RSG at the Maui Invitational. We're having a great time. Check in with us. We'll see you at the next on the next podcast.